Yo, what's up guys, my name is Nick and welcome to another episode of our MyTeam journey. We have an email, so we are going to check at what it is, and it's an updated driver stats. So we are going to put that into our career and we are going to continue at Kota. It's round 19 of 22, so not a lot of races anymore in Season 2. So maybe we need to have a look at another teammate, as our teammate is not doing the job that he needs to do for our team. And we are doing our activities as usual. But yeah, we still have a lot of upgrades to save for next season, so we are going to try and fix them all, try to save them all, of course. And there's not much to do besides that, so let's get into quali. Boy, oh boy, we are out on the full wets, which only means one thing. It's raining like crazy. I'm surprised that this session is not cancelled because of the rain, but it's not real life, it's a game, so we can continue. But of course, as some of you might know, I am not the best in the rain. Of course, I'm not the best at all. But as you can see, a moment through turn 1 and we already lose, I think, 3 or 4 tenths. So yeah, it's still a bank lap and we are trying to put in as many laps as possible to get used to the wet track. Of course, the rain is constantly changing, so you can't really get up to speed with it. But I'm trying my best to get into the later stages of qualifying. And as we complete our first lap, it's an absolutely useless one, because as we cross the line in just a moment, you can see we are 4 seconds off the pace. So we still need to put in some good laps to try and get higher up. As you can see, a lap later coming onto the start finish straight, and you can see we improved by almost a second, but we are still miles off, as we are now actually just behind the Red Bulls. So that's surprising, because they are normally quite fast, but as you can see, one final lap at the end of qualifying. But at the moment we are not improving, and I am afraid that everybody else is. So yeah, as you can see, we come to the third sector, and as we try to go onto the gas, it's a spin for us, so unfortunately that is qualifying already.
Welcome once again then to the United States Grand Prix here in the magnificent city of Austin. It was here in 2018 that Kimi Räikkönen delighted the world by taking the top step of the podium for the first time in 114 races. There's always a record to be broken, so what, I wonder, is in store for us here today? We're racing today then in Travis County, Texas, where 20 corners and speeds of up to 200 miles per hour await us on this magnificent racetrack. It's 60% full throttle with plenty of good opportunities to pass, especially through the 2 DRS zones into turn 1 and the long back straight into turn 12. What a race we have in store today. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, with Sebastian Vettel starting alongside. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Russell, Perez, Esteban Ocon, and Norris, Button, Gasly, Sainz, and Lance Stroll, Fernando Alonso, Mick Schumacher, and Sir Lewis Hamilton. They've taken a grid penalty, and Verstappen, Schwartzman, Tsunoda, the engineer, and Nicholas Latifi. Albon, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Magnussen, Joe, and Daniel Ricciardo fills the last spot on the grid. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway. Natalie Pinkham, a lot of talented drivers out on the track today, but what will stand out for you?
My focus is 100% on the front of the grid. Like you said, we're seeing a lot of strong competition across those positions, so it'll be so interesting to see the fight for that front spot. Personally speaking, I'm hoping for plenty of overtakes.
The strategy for today is the same as always. We start on mediums and go on to the hards. So yeah, nothing to see there, but there are a lot of drivers on the softs, which is quite surprising because they are maybe going to do a one stop from softs to hards or softs to mediums. But that's still surprising to see a lot of drivers on the two stop. Of course, we are not going to do that because we are not fast enough. We are all the way down in the back of the grid. So let's just try to make up as many positions as possible and maybe get into the points. As you can see, still a lot of drivers who had penalties, so we are not that lost. But as we line up to the grids, you can see a steep hill into turn one, so we can try everything. We are in P17, so nothing to lose here as the lights are out. No, they are not out. We are now going, and you can see a bad start as usual. We are already side by side with the with Albon, and as you can see, we try to go around the outside, and there's a yellow flag. What happened here? Is Norris out of the way? What? We are in P4. We need to give the position back to Gasly, but you can see what happened here. We go around the outside of everybody, and we are currently from P17 to P4 in just one lap. You can see it was completely his own fault. Norris is out of the race, but as we have another look, you can see the Red Bull has a log up, and Norris just goes straight into the back of the Mercedes. So it's completely his own fault, and we are now in P5. Right behind Gasly and Russell. But as we go to the end of the first lap, you can see somebody is going into the pits, and it's George Russell. I think he has a bit of damage from that collision with Norris. So we are moving up into P4, which is an amazing start. To be honest, I'm lucky that I didn't go for the inside. Otherwise, I would have been still one of the latest or at the back of the grid, of course. But we chose for the outside, and it worked out perfectly as we are now trying to get our temperature in the tire. And you can see P4 for us with Sebastian Vettel leading the way at the moment, and Charles Leclerc in P2, Pierre Gasly in the AlphaTauri in P3, and we of course in P4 as the safety car is coming in this lap. Maintain speed. We are going to try and overtake Gasly, maybe even Leclerc and Vettel. But of course they are into front runner cars, so I don't think that will be possible. But it's once again green lights, it's resume racing. We are once again underway with the race. So let's hope that this time we do not have another crash and another safety car. But you can see going through turn 1 cleanly and nothing happens. We are now in lap 5. You can see Carlos Sainz tries to overtake us going down the inside. And as he overtakes us, he locks up and he goes wide, which means that we can overtake him once again. A beautiful switchback as we turn in early, which means that we can get earlier on to the straight. But you can see Carlos Sainz is fighting back, and he is now trying to go around the outside of us. But we defend the inside line, and he cannot overtake us. Of course, he is on the soft, so he will be quicker in those few laps after the safety car. And we are still in P4 after 6 laps. I can see somebody in the pits. I think that's Fernando Alonso. So I don't know what happened at the back of the grid. But you can see there's still a long way to go. Lap 6 it is. And Carlos Sainz will go and try to overtake us once again. Around the outside he tries to go, and we are still side by side, but I can defend the inside line so easily, as it's one of the best corners to corner cut without any warnings, as we had a bit of a moment coming out of the final turn, which means that Sainz is now trying to overtake us, but we are going for the inside. You can see I went off the throttle for just a moment, and that meant that we could overtake Sainz. And we are now side by side with Max Verstappen. Of course, he overtook Sainz as I had a bit of a collision with him, not damaged luckily. So we can continue with this race, and we are still in P4. But Gasly is now getting away. 2 seconds is the gap, and the gap to Leclerc and Vettel is currently 10 seconds as Verstappen tries to go around the outside, but we have that inside line and we can stay ahead of him. Or can we? We try to take the outside line once again, and we are still in P4. which is amazing, of course. We started in P17 just 8 laps ago, and we are still at the front of the grid. Of course, the guys on the softs will go for a 2-stop or so, I think. So they will probably fall all the way down as Leclerc is now into the pits. We go into lap 10. So he will fall back into traffic. Our tires are only 30%, so we can go on for another few laps. So maybe we can fight for the win as they will be doing a 2-stop. Also, I think as we now are in lap 11 and Vettel went into the pit as well, is now Gasly leading the way and trying to win this race, of course, as Verstappen tries to overtake us once again. He goes for the inside line, but we hold it around the outside. Always turns to the inside for the next one, so we can stay ahead of him. But Latifi is currently in P5. I don't know how he is doing that. And my teammate is in P4, so maybe we can get a double podium or at least just a good amount of points for the both of us. But it's now lap 12 and it's going into the pits for us. Our pit window is this lap, so you can see into the pits we go. And yeah, we had a good pit stop. But as you can see, we are coming out of the pits, and unfortunately, Russell, Sainz, and Tsunoda are ahead of us. We did brake a bit too late. But we are still intact, so no damage for us as we are now behind Sainz, Russell and Tsunoda, which is not great, but hopefully they can tow us along. And as you can see now, the rest of the grid starts to go into the pits and this button into the pits as well. Hopefully for his one and only pit stop. Let's hope that he does not get any damage. That will be really unfortunate. But he comes out way down the order. You can see he is coming out of the pits right now. And he is, I think, P16, P17 as Sainz and Tsunoda go side by side. And we take the inside line to overtake Tsunoda. And we are up into P8. Still a few guys who need to pit, like Latifi, who is now leading the way actually, which is amazing to see. But we are in P8 and we go and try to overtake Sainz. You can see now lap 15 is P5, everybody has pitted now, and Schumacher in P7, we in P5 and a second behind Sainz. I think the only reason that we can keep up with Verstappen is because we have DRS on Sainz, otherwise they would have run away with it. And Vettel unfortunately had to make another pit stop because he got a bit of damage trying to overtake somebody. So yeah, he is all the way down behind a Haas right now. So he is trying to overtake everybody to get onto that podium once again. As we are now in lap 17, we have a good exit out of that last corner, and we are now trying to overtake Sainz. You can see ERS, DRS, and slipstream. We do not have rich fuel mode anymore. But we go down the inside. As you can see, side by side, Gasly has a bit of a moment, and we almost stand still. Luckily, we didn't run into the back of Verstappen. As you can see around the outside, we still try to overtake Sainz, and that's us up into P4 at the moment. And you can see my teammate is going into the pits once again. It's, I think, already the 4th time that he is into the pits. I don't know what's wrong with him, but he's already a lap down as we have a bit of a moment coming out of that corner once again, as now Sainz trying to overtake us. It's the other way around, and he's going side by side with us. Of course, we have DRS as well, and we try to hold on to that inside line. You can see side by side, Gasly goes deep once again, and we try to overtake him. But it's Daniel Ricciardo who is out of this Grand Prix. His car has given up. He wants to go home, so it's no more racing for the Australian. Of course, he is in a strong car and he was way down. So yeah, unfortunately, no points for him this race as we overtake Verstappen out of nowhere. And yeah, you can see we are now up into the podium, and it's only Gasly and Leclerc ahead of us. Leclerc has a 12 seconds lead at the moment, so we won't be overtaking him if he stays out, of course. But if he goes into the pits, then we can win this race, as my teammate is into the pits once again. What is happening here? Why is he going into the pits? You can see I'm going to the race director and you can see pit stops, and he is going into the pits for nothing. He went into the pits like 4 times already, So he's probably getting fired at the end of this season. But it's lap 19. We need to follow Gasly. But not like this. He's going around and he's into the wall. It's Gasly out of the US Grand Prix. We are now up into P2. And is there another safety car? Yes, there is. Oh boy. Gasly didn't have any luck at all. He just bins it when he needed to go on. So yeah, Gasly is out of this Grand Prix. You can see we are catching up to the safety car and it's lap 20 and our teammate is in once again. My god, what is happening here? Why? Like, what does it even do in the pits? Can we see that? Are we going to look at it right now? Yes, we are. You can see. Has ever happened to anybody because he just stands still in the pits. Like, every lap, every single lap he goes into the pits, does this, and then goes out. Like, what? Why? I don't know. To be honest, I don't know why. As I crash? Do I crash? No, I don't. Whew, lucky. Just holding on to P2. If I went around, I would have lost a lot of positions, but luckily that didn't happen. As it's lap 21 of 28. It's just a short sprint race to the end. Of course, everybody is on worn tires. But yeah, as you can see, it's still Charles Leclerc in P1. We are in P2, Verstappen in P3, and we are trying to overtake Leclerc, but it's not allowed because we are under safety car conditions. But yeah, as you can see, we are going wide to try and put as much temperature in our tires. As it's now a short sprint race to the end. Only 6 laps is safety car in this lap as well. So you can see Charles Leclerc leading the way, and we are still not allowed to overtake him. I want to overtake him as soon as possible, but of course we need to have a good exit out of the last corner. But as you can see, we do not have the best exit, so that means that Leclerc is still leading the way. We are in P2, Verstappen in P3, Sainz in P4 and Hamilton in P5. That's your top 5 at the moment. As we go on to turn 1, you can see we have a log up. Luckily no damage to our front wing from anything. And we are still in P2 as Verstappen has a bit of a moment. And at the same time, Vettel is going into P5, I think around now. No, what? Do I not remember it? Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't remember it correctly. And yeah, now he goes into P5, so Vettel is trying to gain back all the positions that he's lost. But we are in lap 24 and you can see the gap ahead is 1.1 seconds. We are trying to hold on. Lap 25 it is. And 1.5 seconds is now the gap. You can see the gap behind is 1.1 seconds. So we are getting away from Sainz and Verstappen and Vettel. So let's just hope that Vettel can gain as many positions as possible. As his penultimate lap already, you can see nothing much happened. And the gap behind is now 3 seconds. The gap ahead is still 1.2 seconds as we are trying to push as hard as possible. But our car is just not there yet. We are fighting with the track limits to not get a penalty in this race, because that would mean that we lose out to P2. And we do not want that. So we go on and try to stay within the track limits. As we are now going into the final lap of the US Grand Prix, like better say Dakota GP, because there is another GP in the USA that is at Miami, and next year there will be another race in the America or the United States, I'm sorry for that, in Las Vegas of course. But that's not in the game yet, so we need to wait for that until next year. As you can see, lap 28 of 28, we are 1.2 seconds behind. I'm going to give you the entire lap from this point on, as we now try to have a good exit. We only have 10% in our battery left, and it's a 1.3 seconds gap. We are not going to close that anymore, as our engine is just not fast enough. Our chassis is not as good as it needs to be, and our downforce is just not where it needs to be to try and win this race. We need to take P2, of course. That's still amazing, knowing that we started from P17. I think that without that moment in turn 1 at lap 1, we wouldn't have made it up to this point. So I'm really happy that Norris crashed into Russell at the first turn, but as you can see, only one corner remaining. Charles Leclerc goes on to win the US Grand Prix, and as we turn on to the final straight, we can finish in P2. Oh my god!
Great drive, great drive. We're really happy with that performance. Well done.
I am also very happy with this performance. As you can see, driver of the day is for us. Of course, nobody else did it as well as us. Let's go.
That's it then for another magnificent United States Grand Prix. And they've hung on to take a sublime victory here today. So Natalie, what do you think helped them deliver this result?
Well, I honestly feel it was down to the driver and car today. I mean, we could talk driver skill all day, but if you don't have a solid team to back that, you're never going to get anywhere. When you hit that sweet spot of having both an excellent driver and an incredible car, that's when you see results like those that we've witnessed today.
And here we are, a team that is no stranger to the podium, taking their place on top once again. A sublime race today and a stunning win for Ferrari.
So this is our podium. It's Charles Leclerc, of course, who won the US Grand Prix. We finish in P2, so the Belgian flag's up there once again. And it's Carlos Sainz who makes it a double podium for Ferrari. As there are 3 Ferrari powered cars on the podium. We, of course, are still driving with a Ferrari engine. We have more luck than they had in real life this season. So let me know for next season which engine supplier we should have. I have put in a community post already. And we have now the race results here. You can see we finish in P2, Verstappen in P4, Vettel in P5. So he went back from P2 to P5. Verstappen had an amazing race. And Jensen Button made a 7-stop strategy. It didn't work. So yeah, he finished all the way down into P18. And as you can see, we are overtaking Sergio Perez in the driver standings. I don't know how that happened, but you can see, yeah, the constructor standings, we are locked in P6. There are only 3 races remaining, and as things stand, I do not think that we can overtake Alpine anymore. So yeah, that was it, guys, for today's episode. If you enjoyed it as much as I did, then please like and subscribe and let me know who our engine supplier needs to be for next season, and maybe even a teammate for next season. And then there's only one thing that I have to say: goodbye.